Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Creating Structure podcast. Great to have you. I'm your host, John Wheaton. It is my pleasure today to have Kathleen Adams. Kathleen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, John. I'm really happy to be here and to be talking to you.
I'm really happy to have you. And, you'll probably say no, but, I don't have to worry about not being the smartest person in the room today because I've got you with me and you're way smarter than I am. So I just have to ask good questions today. Kathleen, you will be a little bit of a different guest to our audience, which there's many design professionals and manufacturers and contractors and others, but there are numerous business owners or principals or equity shareholders in this crowd, and some of them fit very close to the demographic probably you serve. And so I would like to talk about your Second 50 financial movement, your certified financial planning. Just tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, what you do, how you got to this space, and we'll just get moving.
That sounds great. That's a lot, John.
It is.
Okay. Well, my official bio is I am a financial planner. I'm a wealth planner, actually, because that means I do financial planning and wealth management for people who desire both things. But I think the big thing is I'm from Chicago. I have spent 23 years working on this side of my business. I am passionate about wealth planning because I know there's so many people out there who still need it, and I know there's tons of people who offer it. I feel, though, that there is a group that really likes what we do with Second 50 Financial LLC, and that is the wealth planning side of what I do. I have a lot of designations in that. I've a bachelor's degree from Loyola, and I'm originally from Chicago, now living in California. On the other side of my unofficial bio, I am also the founder of the Second 50 movement. So Second 50 movement came about a lot because of what I saw after 23 years in the Second 50 financial company. So the Second 50 movement is, it's a different group. It's a completely separate type of business and format, but I think they're highly related entities. And I love that too. I love both businesses.
Yeah, thanks. To the measure you're comfortable, would you share a little bit about how your certified financial planning passion in Second 50 Financial came about?
Yes, because it's actually very applicable to also the Second 50 movement. But really, if I can tell you just a quick story, it's really about my dad. Mm-hmm. So when I was growing up, unlike a lot of financial advisors, I did not have any worries about money. I didn't have anything that I had to overcome because my dad gave us a spectacular life, and he made a great deal of money. He's a very successful dentist. And he never lived with debt. He invested in real estate and thought he had everything set up correctly. But when the time came and he had to leave his practice, by the way, he loved what he did and he never thought he would stop working, but something came in it and he needed to. He was not set up correctly at all. And I was pretty stunned. I wasn't in financial planning at the time. This was in the mid-90s. So I just thought if somebody could do as well as he did and live with no debt and invest in real estate and take care of his family, how could this happen? And what I found out is that there was just never a strategy towards him making work optional. And I think a lot of people, especially in service businesses that they love, feel that way. I don't need to worry about it because I'm going to stay in because I love it. But with my dad, he could not. And so I went back to school, UCLA at night, and studied financial planning. And I decided that this is a really, really important area of life. And it boils down to, John, that first of all, there has to be a strategy. Everyone needs a strategy. Everyone needs a plan B. And everyone needs an intentional team. So you can have a fantastic CPA and a great attorney, private attorney, estate attorney, insurance person, et cetera. But if the right hand doesn't look at what the left hand is doing, there really isn't going to be a cohesive effort on your behalf. So those are the things that we based our financial planning on. And once I got through what I was doing, I actually was able to help my dad, which I was thrilled. because things turned out okay for him. He just didn't have the travel first class and continue to help his daughter's lifestyle that he truly wanted. So I decided I was on a mission to work with people who had fantastic lifestyles and they're very successful, but they need a strategy and a plan.
Wow, that's inspiring and actually very informational. Got a bunch of questions. The first question is, I believe you said he did very well, but did I hear this right? He didn't plan to make work optional. In other words, are you saying that, because there are a lot of people listening that they don't have an estate attorney, they don't have a financial planner, they don't have an accountant, or they maybe have one of them, they think they're okay, but are you saying it's about having a strategy to not just build assets, but to have cash flow and have some kind of way to live off an income outside of working for money?
Absolutely. You totally hit the nail on the head, John, because once you get into a time of life, and that's why I call it second 50, most of us in our 50s and 60s are going to be thinking that at some point we would stop working. We at least, even if we love what we do, we want to know that work is optional. But that's when wealth becomes about income. Wealth is going to become about the cash flow, how you're going to create the checks that come to you every month to cover your lifestyle and take care of you when that business income stops. And that's it in a nutshell. It is cash flow. And it needs to go way beyond, in my view, saving some stocks and bonds and retirement plans. I think to support a really successful lifestyle, there's going to be a lot more involved in that.
Oh, I want to hear more about that. I was talking to my wife or somebody? I was saying, when somebody says, this is my net worth, it's like, well, how much is in cash and how much is in liquid investment and how much is in like hard asset? You can't eat your net worth, right? Yeah. You can't travel on your net worth unless you can go borrow against a revolving credit line, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So Kathleen, it sounds like you haven't been a financial planner your entire life. So what were you doing before you were a CFP? Were you an accountant or still in certified wealth management, or what were you doing?
No, I have a degree in the biological sciences. I went to, my undergrad was on the track to become a dentist. So I was going to follow my dad's footsteps. I worked in his office and practiced there as a dental hygienist and going back to dental school. And I could not get myself to do dental school. I only had 2 years left to become a dentist and take the boards. And it just wasn't for me. And I think part of it was there was something about the business of doing something, then I liked it so much more than I did actually being a clinician type of service provider. But I was my dad's succession plan.
Wow, I did not know that. That's fascinating. So this was almost a motivated, if I heard you right, motivated out of your father's experience. This motivated you to go to school and to take this different track as a CFP, right?
Correct. Well, yeah, certified financial planner. I'm also a certified private wealth advisor, and now I'm a retirement management analyst as well. So I never stop learning. But when you study on the medical dental end, you're studying a great deal of science and math. So I always knew what I felt I was really good at. And when I went back into planning to help my dad, I kind of thought it would be a piece of cake because I'm really good with numbers. But it's so much more than that. It was really pretty difficult schooling. And like I said, it's really important. The CFP, and it's a great designation, John. To me, it's the least of what we need now. We need a lot more.
It's just one component.
Yep, it is.
As the guys, one of my favorite lines I think it was in the first Batman remake with Christian Bale, the gentleman says, "I'm very good with the calculations." He's an accountant. I'm like, I think that sometimes people are like, slow down with the numbers, John. Like, I'm really good with the calculations, but there's other qualitative things to consider too, right? Not just quantitative things.
Absolutely. Because then everybody says the numbers don't lie, but the numbers don't tell the whole story.
Oh,
So
that's
there's
so well
just
said.
a ton of strategy and creativity and problem solving. It's really not unlike your contractors and builders and designers, right?
Yeah.
You just
Just
say
before.
there's a diagram, right? But what goes into it and what goes beyond it?
Before we go further, what is the difference between a CFP, a certified financial planner, and a certified private wealth advisor?
So the Certified Private Wealth Advisor is a designation that is an advanced designation in planning. It really does focus a lot on business owners, on charitable giving, on tax. So it just enables you to go to the next level. The CFP is essential for the broad public, but as you want to get into more complex regions of planning, to me, you have to go to another level. So this one was administered through the Booth School at the University of Chicago, through the Investments in Wealth Institute. It was one of the best things I've ever done. So,
Wow.
yeah.
I'm dying to know, how did you get from Chicago to Manhattan Beach? Did your father move to establish dentistry out there? Like, how did that all work?
No, my husband is a dentist. He's an orthodontist.
Okay.
And he came to Illinois, to Loyola Dental School to take his undergrad. And so we met then. And we didn't get married right away, but we got married some years later. My dad knew him and, he gave his blessing go. So I ended up in California and I raised my two daughters there. But I will tell you, I definitely have a foot in each state. Illinois is a home and California is a home.
That's so good. Yeah, well, you can take the Midwest. You can take the person out of the Midwest, but you can't take the Midwest out of the person, right?
No. Right.
I said before, it has nothing to do with our conversation, but literally, I'm not kidding. When I land at LAX going east to west, I usually have extra time. If I have time, when I get the rental car, I go straight to Manhattan Beach. I go down that hill or park on the road and I walk down that hill and I look at that big wide beach and I just go, oh, this feels so good. It's one of my favorite spots.
It's unbelievable, John. And to this day, I can stand outside in January and just say, are you kidding me? I spent the first half of my life in Illinois, and I still know exactly what it's like to be there in January, February, and March. And this is a complete and utter blessing. It's wonderful.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you never forget that sting in January and February, no matter what. It's seared in the brain.
But I'll tell you what happens is, so because of my age, and I'm a baby boomer, who's another group that I just love working with, I really start thinking about it because living in California and living in Manhattan Beach is very expensive. A lot because of our taxes, everything else that goes along with it. And so you do start thinking about what's going to make sense going forward. But right now, for me, I will pay to stay here.
Everything's a decision, right?
Yes, it is.
That's so good. Well, yeah, there's a certain quality of life. So, wow, that's an interesting path. So your bio talks about how you're in the lifestyle preservation business. So it sounds to me like you happen to be a certified financial planner and a private wealth advisor. But as we walk into the Second 50 financial and Second 50 movement, I really love how it talks about the lifestyle preservation business. Can you speak as to how does your work inform that? What is that about?
Yes. So John, that goes back a little bit to my dad, because as I said, there's ways that you can plan for your second 50 years. And what that really means is creating an income stream for yourself when your work stops. But it doesn't mean that you're going to be preserving the lifestyle that you love. So the lifestyle that you love tends, at least for the people that I work with and know, it tends to be a little higher. So lifestyle is, I love to travel, and I really enjoy buying a new car every 5 years, and I enjoy philanthropy or helping my children, but it's a lifestyle, and it really doesn't mean what you need to survive. So it goes beyond that. And what we discovered in planning with my team is it takes a lot of money to support a lifestyle, to preserve a lifestyle when your income completely stops.
Mm.
And so lifestyle preservation planning came about because we said, you know what, we're going to plan for what they really want. We're going to plan to see how well we can keep them in the lifestyle. They've earned it, and we worked hard. So that's how preservation planning came in. And as I said, when my dad couldn't have the lifestyle he wanted, it really made me angry.
Mm.
He deserved it. He gave everybody else such a great lifestyle. And that's how I usually feel about my clients. They deserve it.
I love that statement. It reminds me of a great message I heard from Dr. Gary Chapman one time. He said, anger is not a problem. Anger is a human emotion rooted in the nature of God. He said, the problem with anger is we usually take it out on ourselves or on another person. But the goal of anger is to have an emotional response to take it out on the problem. And it sounds like you took it out on the problem. You let your anger promote moving into, well, I'm going to take a different direction. I'm going to help people. That is awesome. Kudos to you.
Thank you. And I love that saying, taking your anger out on a problem. Is it? Yeah, that's.
Yep. People think, well, I can't be angry. Our job isn't to stifle anger and sweep it under the rug. We know all the isms that come from that. I can point to some in my own family. We all, don't talk about the elephant, but yeah, anger, attack the problem. And I think it takes an increasingly maturing mindset to recognize when we're angry, call it what it is, and then try to identify, how do I deal with this? How do I effectively move to whatever the next thing that gets me angry? And is it righteous indignation, or is it just, I'm just a jerk, So
Are you going to sit there and stew in it? Or are you going to do something about it?
Yeah, that sounds like you did a lot about it. So lifestyle preservation planning. Now, so there are people listening that they are a business owner, they're a shareholder in a public company, or they get a K1 as holding an asset in a private company, or maybe they're a younger entrepreneur and they're thinking they're on that path. And honestly, it's probably a little daunting when somebody hears you say it takes a lot of money when your sole income stream, let's say your sole income stream, comes from the combined source of your investments. So talk to me about, I'm going to lead into this. So you have these two things, Second 50 Financial and the Second 50 Movement. Why do you call it Second 50 instead of retirement?
Because when you think of retirement, you typically think I'm in the second half of my life, or I'm at a time where there's a limited amount of life left. And I come from the mindset, and I'm in some fantastic communities that support it, that we're going to be able to live much better, longer lives. So we have to start thinking about this time of life from 50 to 100, not as a second half, but as a second 50, because there could be a longer time frame. So if you're in the mindset that you have a clock in your head that my dad lived till 86, so I'll probably live that long, or I already have a heart condition and my back hurts, so I'm not well and I'm probably not going to live a long time. You're probably not going to be thinking about life as a second 50. So what we do is not for everybody, but for the people that really resonate with what we do, they do see themselves having better, longer lives, or at least they want to. So you have to plan differently for that. It's a very different.
I like how you said it. You're looking at it not as the second half of life, but the second 50. In other words, it could be all that and more, far more than it was the first 50, which a half of that first 50 is spent being educated and trained by other people, right?
Right. Yeah.
And a third of that time we don't even have any rights. We're under our parents' wings, right?
It's very true. And you have a lot of goals and dreams, but you're working hard, and you tend to be working hard for a lot of other people is how it usually turns out for yourself. But, many times you have families and a lot of those goals. I believe the second 50 it can be an amazing time of life for many reasons. But I don't think most people have a community around them that necessarily feels that way.
Yeah, well said. Well, I may be one of those outliers because, I got a long way to go, but financially and in every way. But I'm shooting for 100. If I don't make it to 100, I don't really care. I want to say, well, I'm shooting for 100 or 100. Like, I don't want to be 100 and alone. But in other words, I want to have resources that can far outlast me living to 100 or beyond. And if those get given away or distributed I don't really care. But I like the mindset of the second 50. Thrive as much as we can, create income streams, create asset. It's not just about leaving the work we do and sitting around and waiting for ourselves to die, right?
Honestly, that's so true. For some people, especially when you're getting ready to get out, you're so tired, or you've been working in something your whole life, and the freedom is delicious when you first get out. But it can become sort of what we call the endless pursuit of comfort. And that is a real problem as we age. Because if you really love comfort and you're going to set up some routines and make sure you don't take any risks or try anything new because you don't need to, we don't have to, I don't feel that's a recipe for a better, longer life.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
So, second 50 financial, and then you have second 50 movement. So what kind of things do you do then to help promote this vitality and strength and more of a wanting than a needing based lifestyle, I think, in the second 50 years, when somebody's looking to not have to work for money every day, or even if they do work for money, they have all kinds of other alternate incomes. So what kind of things does your company and your movement and you do to help facilitate that?
Well, at the base of everything, the foundation of everything is financial confidence. So I believe in today's world, everybody who has a certain degree of success and wealth absolutely needs a team helping them look at this financial situation. It's too complicated, and the world is too complicated. And we're not even doing the type of planning we did 10 years ago. It's very different. So the financial foundation piece is essential, working with your advisors and your team and creating the strategy and the plan. Because the other two components of what we do, and this is the second 50 movement, this is my new passion in business too, is that we want to explore expanding opportunities and enhancing vitality. But nobody wants to do that if they don't have financial confidence. So, the first thing you're going to do, you just want to know you're going to have enough money and you can live your lifestyle and you can make workout shoe. So once you get that settled, then it's going to be what's next. And so for many people, when they get up in the morning, there's not a big sparkle to look forward to in the day. There's nice things, good things, playing with grandkids, traveling, working on a classic car, those kind of relaxing, golfing. But after a while, without something new, some novelty, people start to, in my view, from what I've seen, they start to decline a bit. So they become less mobile, less active, less interested in really great health, and less excited for life, because it becomes about routine and comfort. So the second 50 movement is to help people honestly think about having an amazing second 50 years. And if you find yourself in a financially confident place and you're going to have more time and perhaps a lot of goals, visions, and dreams have been accomplished, why not start to look at something new? And as I said before, part of the reason why people don't is they're not necessarily in a community that supports that. So family members, friends, old business associates, there might not be a lot of people in those groups that say, let's try something new, right? And there weren't in mine. And
yeah, right. And I mean, that's a whole other track we could take. One of the books, I think I might have even mentioned it to you, one of the books I continue to go back to is Dr. Henry Cloud's book, Necessary Endings. And
yes,
he makes mention of that. And Dan Sullivan makes mention of it even too, even in his program where, you know, as one grows, sometimes one outgrows the people that were around them. That doesn't mean we leave friends behind, because there's a whole other philosophy behind this, but it doesn't mean we leave friends behind or kick people to the curb. But it does mean we have to, in addition, we have to move into other communities to support growth and evolution, right?
You do. And remember, if you're in your second 50 years, there's also the media, there's the public. You know, what they think of our age group is what out at the beach, you know, just you see it every day in commercials, and you see it, all the pharmaceutical ads are aimed at our age group because we're going downhill, chronic diseases of aging. So I got so tired of it. And because you and I are in a couple of groups that have really vibrant people who are in their 60s, 70s, and 80s and still going for it, I know that they're out there. So the Second 50 movement is about creating a community for the people that are in this age group. And they're open-minded, at least they're forward-thinking, and they do believe there's something more. So that's where it starts, is creating community.
Creating community, that's a big buzzword for me too. So you talked about expanding opportunities. I think that's what you said, to help increase vitality. So is the Second 50 movement, is it simply, paint a picture for me, is it simply a networking group and we get together once a month and or do you have a prescriptive program that you lead people into and certain things that they work on or work through?
Yeah, this is what's so exciting for me, is when I started thinking about this a few years ago, during COVID, actually, where I think we all started to reassess and redesign what we wanted to do with our lives. Mm-hmm. I got really excited about it. But in the last year and a half, what's happened is I'm a part of a group called Abundance 360, and it's led by somebody named Peter Diamandis. And I've always been aware that artificial intelligence is out there. I mean, we've all been using it for years in various things, but wow, this year is the first year that artificial intelligence is totally able to be consumed by the public. And my understanding is it's so big in our lifestyle, in our lifetime right now, that it's just like when the internet started. So if we're at the precipice of a time in history, we are so fortunate to be living in this time, in my view. So you add to artificial intelligence and what it's going to do for us, and you add regenerative medicine, which is also what our coach Dan Sullivan tells us is going to be the basis of the economy over the next 30 years, is going to be what's happening in regenerative medicine. Regenerative medicine means that it's all about living longer. It's all about living better. It's about cures and getting to the cures and the solutions. And the combination of the work that's being done in regenerative medicine and artificial intelligence, creating biotechnology and nanotechnology, we are, our Second 50 group, it can be ready to explode just with those two things. So that's what's so exciting. And so no, it's not just about networking. It's about learning to leverage artificial intelligence. We can use it for all kinds of things. We can use it for simple things for our everyday life to make life easier and more fun. We can explore, we can get creative, but you can also even use it to help you find a purpose. So that'll be good.
And so that is part of your Second 50 Movement program?
Yes, we're going to be looking at how we can leverage artificial intelligence into our lives and into our goals. And I am not the expert. I definitely have people who are experts who are going to be participating, but they're going to be doing it in the context that they're working with our age group. So we're not talking to 20 and 30 somethings about what they're going to do with it. It's really more about what can we do with it for our lifestyle.
Got you. Okay, thanks for that. So if I wanted to join that group, if I was a person listening and I wanted to join or consider joining that group, what would I have to do?
So right now what we're doing is we're holding some of what I'm calling focus workshops. We're doing some complimentary workshops because I'm trying to narrow down what's most important to people first to learn. I know what I'm excited about.
Okay.
Biggest problems and what are they most excited about. And then what we're going to do is the community is going to launch in the fall. And so we're going to make the offer for people to join through a membership to the community. And there will be different levels at which you can join.
I see.
Always be something out there that's complimentary. So some information in newsletters will be out there if you love the idea of the Second 50 Movement. But the power is going to come to me from having the community. We will have meetings. We will continue to have Zoom meetings. We will have in-person meetings, and we will have events.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, so next line is, so you wrote a book, right?
Right.
Man, I still haven't gotten brave enough to stretch and write the book. Tell us the name of the book.
It's simply Second 50, but it's SECOND 50.
Okay,
and
Second 50.
Yeah, achieve financial confidence and opportunity, and then leverage vitality. So it's a short book. It was really about getting my message out to people. If you want to live an awesome life in your second 50 years, consider doing a lot more than what we are currently doing. But it's also about, I'm hoping to open the mindset of people as well who have that clock in their head. Because if you think you have 15 years left, there's a lot less that you might be inclined to do. If you think you have 40 years left, then it becomes about, oh, yeah, you know what? Now I have permission to really think about doing something bigger. So
I like that. Yeah. So this is not, I mean, when I listen to this, what's interesting to me is how you talked about the undergirding of all of it is really having a solid financial plan, but we're actually not talking that much about financial planning and streams of investment. What we're talking about is a lifestyle that is promoting health and wellness, which is a very holistic thing. Certainly money influences that, right? But if I'm hearing you correctly, having money and no health and no relationships is boring and unfulfilling. Having great plans and desires and relationships and wonderful interests without any means to support it is kind of frustrating. So we want to have a combination of both, right?
yeah, and I think it's impossible. I don't know that you really can have the opportunity expansion and the vitality enhancement if you don't have a financial foundation underneath it, because that's how my dad was. I mean, he had the real estate and he had things, and it turned out to be okay, as I said, but the foundation wasn't there. And I'm just going to share this with you, John. When I was taken him to the airport. He was 86 years old in California, driving down a sunny highway. And he was telling me about his new venture. He was going to become a consultant for a big hospital in Palm Springs, California. He's going to start a new business and be a consultant. And because he knew how to take care of dentures, because young dentists didn't know how to do it. And he's telling me all about this. And he gets on the plane that day, and he passed away on the plane on the flight home to Chicago.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
You know, he never stopped with the ideas. And had he had more financial means, I really think my dad would have been doing something bigger and he would have explored more health options. But at any rate, that's what I mean. I don't think you have the second 50 movement empowering you unless you have the foundation of financial security underneath you.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And I will say this, I firmly believe people in the second 50 movement are going to be able to set up new income streams. They're going to be able to monetize some of their ideas and, the excitement they have. They can collaborate and find new relationships. I totally believe that more wealth will be created in the second 50 movement. I think we're extremely capable of doing it too.
Yeah, I agree with you too. I'm sure not only in your second 50 movement, but in the second 50 of our life. Assuming we have our health, I tell people, while I do want to repurpose, I call it, at some point, while I do want to play a different game or a combination of games, I'm at the top of my game as a professional. I know more now than I've ever known before. I have failed more than anybody who's 30. I've learned more lessons. I'm inventing new problems. And it's just like, you probably feel the same. Like, I know more now than why would I get out now?
I say that, and I've said this to friends, I've said it to family. We're at the peak of our wisdom and our experience, and you can't buy it. I don't care where you go to school or what you're doing, you can't buy it. So
you can't buy it.
It's here with us. So my mantra is, please don't waste your wisdom and your wealth. Let's do something more.
That's well said. I want to go back to one other question before I move on to another topic quick. Again, because to try to let somebody in the audience grasp this if they've never done it. So, and correct me if I'm wrong, or I'm just going to ask the question. Are you telling me that even if I have the wherewithal to sit down by myself or with my spouse or significant other, and I happen to have an insurance broker and an attorney and an accountant and a wealth manager, that in and of itself, is that good? Or is that still not a best practice in terms of having somebody to kind of tie it all together?
I believe the majority of times when you have wonderful advisors around you, they are not a cohesive, intentional team. And from what I've seen, and even from working with my own clients, many, many times, professionals are just used to working in silos. They're going to take care of their piece, and then it's not going to be, a concerted effort on everyone's part to help this client, particularly if it's a couple, really get to where they want to go. It's really going to be more about taking that. So yes, I believe you need a leader. I do believe you need a coordinator, a guide that is going to put it all together for you. And I think there's some great people out there who can do it. Sometimes the CPA likes to take over and do it. Sometimes the financial advisor, sometimes a really good insurance person. But it's a very definite concerted effort. And please don't try to do that alone. Rule of thumb, take this money out of here at this time. The rule of thumbs are out the window.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, I've had them. I had them when I first started practicing, but yeah.
You say the rules of thumbs are out the window. That's a significant statement. And you said the planning we're doing now, we weren't doing any of it 10 years ago. It's all changed.
Yep.
And so, forgive my naivete. Is that what you do? You pull it all together. You manage this constituent group on behalf of the client. You bring in the legal, the insurance, the health and wellness, that you kind of try to say, here's what I think the strategy should look like.
Second 50 Financial does the strategy.
Okay.
Yeah, because I found it out on what my dad didn't have, remember?
Yeah.
And then I saw it all around me because I lived with so many dentists and service professionals, brilliant people who are working very heavily in their business and very single-minded and experts. This is not this is not a simple. We're in a much more complex world. Everybody knows that, and the rules of the game have changed. And when the rules of the game changed, we have to change. Yeah.
Well said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, just listening to a financial planner talk about, well, let's see. So this required minimum distribution, and then there's a Social Security, but then there's Medicare considering if you make too much, then this contribution goes up, and then you probably want to squeeze this down and increase that. But then, oh yeah, no, you're going to pay a capital gain on this. And that's only just touching on the one piece of it.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And let's look beyond that and say, if you're living in your second 50 and you may be living a lot longer, how in the world are we going to support the income stream to last a long time?
Yeah.
You can't do that the same way we used to do it when I was first to CFP, because we assumed the age at mortality, and now we're going to think about living a lot longer. We don't know that age.
We don't.
Right?
No, we don't. You're right. But it definitely is longer. My father is still living. He's 86 this year. And I'm like, Dad, you've outlived every male in the Wheaton line by 20 years. He's outlived his father by 20 years and all his uncles by more than 20 years. He said, I never thought I would live this long. Never thought he'd live that long. But you know what? He saved and he planned and he invested. So he's done pretty well for himself. He didn't live a high flying life, but to your point, he's like, he could live to be in his 90s. He's like, good grief, I didn't want to live that long, but like he really has a choice over it.
Yes. And if you're living a better life, and if what we're learning is that the speed at which the cures and the solutions are coming, especially for the diseases of aging, including cancer, including dementia, if we can stay healthy long enough, we're going to be living potentially a lot longer. Mm-hmm. We're not going to be in nursing homes. It's going to be a much better, nicer life. So why not continue to plan for that?
Yeah, Kathleen, I had this idea, and maybe somebody's going to roll their eyes that this is already happening. But I was talking to another friend of mine who's a principal in a business, and he and I both had the same idea. It's like creating an entire community. I'm talking about the infrastructure for a community, a place to dwell and live in the second 50, a physical manifestation of this where it's not just an assisted living in a condo and a skilled care. That's in the area, but it's like, I don't even know how to do it, but it's a big, and maybe people are doing it, but it's a big idea where you actually have these pods of communities where it's all people can own, work, go to the doctor, health and wellness, like somehow with the baby boomers, with all the wealth in this generation, it's an integrated expression of that in community. It's just an idea.
No, yeah. I mean, I think in my view, having the community to connect with and be with as needed and have the resources available that you are sharing and know about, perhaps the clinics and various things you can belong to. I do think that a lot of families are going to be wanting to be together more, and that with multiple generations. And this is what I'm seeing. So these things kind of loosely called the family compounds are coming together more and more.
Interesting.
Yeah, more so than I think living with a community of people that's in your age group.
Good point.
I think there's going to be some really exciting things around this sort of family compound idea, which I'm already researching with some people, and great ways to do this. And I bet your builders are well aware of this also. Yeah. First, you have all these ADUs, and now you have that the pre-planned homes that can be dropped in your yard. And
yeah, no, that's really well said. You're right. In a sense, they're having that community. It's already there, in a sense, if you have the right support. Okay, real quick. I want to move on a little bit. You've planted a lot of great seeds here. Oh, by the way, your book, if I was a listener and I wanted to get a copy, we can put this in the show notes stuff at the end, but would that be on your website or through Amazon or all of the above?
Yeah, right now, Amazon is the easiest way to do it.
Okay.
We are redoing both our Second 50 financial website and the website page for Second 50 movement. So Amazon is probably the easiest. And I don't know if I have a link on LinkedIn, but I know I have information about it on LinkedIn as well.
Okay, that's SECOND50, Second 50, everybody. Second 50, that's the book, Second 50. You can get it through Amazon.
It's a short read.
It's a short read. That's great. Well, it probably provides a lot of quick food for thought on just what you're all about and how you then express it in your work with people. If I just wanted financial planning advice, could I come to you and your group and say, I just need some financial planning, or are you moving on from that?
No, we're out 100% keeping that going because I know the significance of it. I have a fantastic team. I don't do that alone. And we've been doing it for a very long time. And we're very excited because we've incorporated some incredible new tools and softwares and strategies in order to help people live longer. And again, service providers, professionals are one of the hardest groups because they often don't have a big exit sell, or perhaps they have a succession plan, but there's a lot of things that those types of people can be doing. You want to get on it.
Good point.
Yeah.
You're a member of a number of organizations. Are you a member of the Strategic Coach Group?
Yes.
If somebody's listening and they're interested, can you tell them, have you found a lot of benefits from being a strategic coach?
Yeah. So Strategic Coach is a coaching group for entrepreneurs and visionaries, and it's led by Dan Sullivan. It's probably in the top 3 things I've ever done in my life.
Really?
Because it's provided me with the community to make all kinds of amazing decisions, giving me the confidence and the people in the room. Dan Sullivan gives the tools and the thinking tools. If anyone owns their own business or is feeling entrepreneurial and wants to do something else, I highly recommend looking into Strategic Coach. You can do it very easily and without cost by just listening to some of Dan Sullivan's podcasts.
Yeah.
His latest book, 10X is Easier Than 2X, is one of the best books they've ever written. You've read that, John, right?
I'm partway through it, and I have a personal coach, Dr. Chuck Misha. He said, because he knows I have ADD, he's like, you're not allowed to read ahead. You have to stick to one chapter at a time because I'm afraid you won't implement things. So,
well, Dan Sullivan has ADD, and he says more than 50% of the entrepreneurial community does.
Yeah.
I get around that because I may have a touch of that myself. Audiobooks. And the audiobooks that Dan Sullivan does with Ben Hardy, his big books, they're so awesome because there's a lot of bonus content and at the end of each chapter. So I would highly recommend if people have an interest looking into that.
Yeah. The other thing it really helps is having an integrator like my partner. I was just sharing with somebody today. He was like, yeah, your quick start's taking over. I said, but that's okay. My partner is a 1 quick start and an 8 detail follow through. He's in his strength finder strength. His top one is harmonizer, and mine is not. It's probably on the last on the list,
Yeah. So all those you're talking about, I got exposed to Colby and Strength Finder with Dan Sullivan. And I'm the same as you. I'm a tremendous quick start, all on the visionary, and I have fantastic integrator on my team and opposite Colby's on my administration side. So we need that, right?
You know what? We all need each other, to make a blended whole. I was talking to another business owner yesterday. He had closed down a certain service line, and he was just sharing some things. And I said, well, that person, if they weren't that way, they wouldn't have been an innovator. And you have to be that way to be innovative. But if you're that innovative, it's really hard to finish things. You need other people to come in. You need other governors and controls mechanisms to go, you're out. We're taking this over now. We're going to ship it, book it. Right? Seth Godin always goes, ship it, establish a done date. It's not perfect. Get it out there. Be done with it. Because, yeah, you can just work forever on an idea and it never comes to fruition.
Totally right, John. You can get buried in the weeds on that. That's why I just love my team. Together, I think we're just like really well done together. But the other thing I was going to say as we end this is that Dan Sullivan and Ben Hardy's book, Who Not How, is a great way to find out more about what you and I are talking about.
I read that one too. I think 10x better than 2x is a much better book in my opinion. But I get the principle of, Who Not How is a very straightforward principle. I think Dan Sullivan has a gift of communicating complicated concepts in a very simple manner. He can speak it in a way that you go, wow, I never thought about that,
Yeah, he says his gift is getting people to think about their thinking, which we never take time to do.
Yeah, and to distill it into a prescriptive program that kind of expresses, it brings out what it is he's trying to speak about. Okay, I know you are up against time here. I have one. You don't have to answer this if it's too hard. What's the biggest challenge in communicating your message? Do you have if somebody comes to you, or if you're just speaking to a crowd to try to stimulate, is there a particular challenge in communicating your message that is always difficult?
I think in the group we're with, a lot with the second 50, is we still run into a lot of people who have very limited mindsets and closed minds. And if you do that, then, you're probably not a good fit and you're probably not going to listen to the message because you're going to be convinced, number one, this isn't that hard. I can do it myself. Number two, I don't have that long to plan for, so I'm just not going to worry about it. And really, number three, I can get by. So if you're, if you got that mindset and it's closed and limited, then you know what, it's okay. But that's the big challenge we have. So when we recognize that, we know we're just basically not a good fit.
Yeah, that's good.
Planning. Yeah.
It might prompt somebody to change and go, you know what, I need to be open, and then others, like you say, it's just not for them.
Yeah, and that's what my book will do, at least to help people think differently. That's what I would love.
Before we wrap up, what do you do for hobbies or recreation outside of work and business? Or is that your hobby? And if it is, that's okay. But what kind of things do you like to do? What does Kathleen, the human, like to do?
I love to travel. I love it. I have a daughter living in Copenhagen with new grandchildren, so we've been a lot more. I love ancient history. So I love exploring places where there's, where I can actually touch something that's 1,000 years old. And I love to read. I'm a lifelong learner. So right now I have a big passion for quantum physics. And I've been looking into a lot more about how that works because it explains a lot. Yeah. And I love the water. So I'm not a great swimmer, but I absolutely love the ocean water. And I live next to it. So what can you do?
That's beautiful. I guess we'll have to do a whole podcast with you on quantum physics because that probably just people went, what? What is that about? I love that.
I'm going to bring it up in second 50 movement too, because it's quite fascinating.
I'm going to say totally legit. I'm not placating. You've inspired me. I am inspired. I feel more inspired to travel. I feel more inspired to dig deeper into this second 50. I'm just inspired listening to you. I hope others are inspired by our conversation as well.
Well, thank you so much, John. I really appreciate that. And if I did that, then it was, it was worth working on what I'm working on. But you already have an open mind. I'm just glad you're still inspired.
I do. I have an open mind. I just wish I could change more quickly. My wife loves to travel and we don't travel near enough. It inspires me to go home and go, let's book a trip. You know what I mean?
There's such creative ways to do it that you both could enjoy.
Yeah, no doubt about it. She's great at it, and she's a creative too. I keep telling her she needs to take her Colby. She may be more. She may be a quick start, and she may be a 8.885 or something. I don't know. She's gifted. So anyway, well, we are at the end of our time. Thank you, Kathleen. Anything else you want to say before we're done?
No, it's just an absolute pleasure talking to you. And for those of you, especially the business owners, but the people in the design end of what you're doing, I'm sure you're doing fantastic work. Do something to set up the strategy, because I know you'll have a much better, longer life if you do.
That's great to hear. Yeah, there's a lot of burnout in the construction industry, that's for sure. It can be a very tough, deadline-driven group. Well, ladies and gentlemen, and by the way, Kathleen, your time is very valuable. Thank you for sharing it with me and with us. It's deeply appreciated. So, ladies and gentlemen, she's Kathleen Adams, founding partner, financial advisor, co-founder of Second 50 Financial, and now Second 50 Movement, right?
Right.
Author and everything else. And you're a great resource. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for listening. We're going to sign off, and we'll catch you next time. Have a great day.